And this is 365 Sports. Robert Allen, I sent him a text, as I mentioned, Saturday evening, and I said, what and how? Wow, Gutty. And he joins as sideline reporter for Oklahoma State. Robert, what did you think was going to happen? It was 17 Texas. They have Bijan and Roschon and all that. It was a weird day, but did you feel like the Texas was on the verge of popping them open?
Well, I mean, I thought it was possible. I mean, obviously they've got a lot of weapons, and but I knew one thing, and I'm not just saying this. I mean, it's real easy. Oh yeah, guy's a sideline reporter for Oklahoma State. He's going to homer the crap out of this. The one thing you know about this group, and they had a lot of adversity. I mean, there were several injuries during the game on the side. I'll give you a for instance, because you guys are familiar with this kid, John Paul Richardson. You know, it's Bucky Richardson, the former A&M quarterback's kid. And he went out in the third quarter, and he was a key for Spencer. He was kind of the crutch receiver or the go-to guy across the middle to move the chains. I mean, he converted a lot of third downs during the game, he and Spencer. And he goes to the locker room, and I knew he'd been cramping up because I knew they'd been working on him on the sidelines. And I go over to the head trainer and said, "Hey, Scott, what's the deal?" He goes, I think he's out. I mean, he's got really bad cramping. We're going to IV him. And, you know, when you IV a guy in the second half, if you IV him at halftime, that's the other thing. Golly, the weather pattern for this season. I mean, and I'm sure it was this way for Baylor Saturday with Kansas. I mean, it was on the turf. It was in the 90s on Saturday here. That's not usual for this time of year. I mean, that's pretty warm for this time. Anyway, to finish the JPR story, he goes in and I guess they got a bag of IV in him, and he said, "Hey, take this out. I'm good. I'm ready to go." And grabbed his helmet, came out, and when I saw him, I went back to the trainer again. He says he's good. So that's not something we're going to keep him out. If he says he's hydrated, if he says he feels okay and he's not cramping. And I mean, he made 3 huge catches, 2 on the drive to tie the game, and 1 on that got him a first down before Bryson Green caught the Spencer pass and went 41 to get the lead. Good example. I mean, then there were some guys that disappeared, didn't come back. Hunter Woodard, starting right guard, we never saw him again. In fact, I didn't see him in the locker room after the game. And Dominic Richardson, the running back, he was out. So now you've got 2 freshman receivers playing a big role. You got a redshirt freshman running back in Jaden Nixon. You got a freshman running back in Ollie Gordon that they're having to play a key role. Your offensive line, you've got a guy playing guard that hadn't even practiced at guard in a couple of weeks. And he's one of those 6-man type offensive linemen. He can play either tackle, either guard, but he hadn't been at that position for a while. And then Mike Gundy, and I asked him today, I said, "What the heck are you grabbing me for during the game?" But he grabbed me in the fourth quarter, and he pointed out at the kickoff team, there's 8 guys out there that haven't played. Mm-hmm. And he was right. Because, you know, once you start filtering through your depth and your 2 deep on either offense or defense, those guys, once they're out, you got to replace them on special teams, you know, most of the time. And, they're running down the kickoff with 8 guys that really hadn't played. So it was pretty crazy. But that's the one thing about this group and the culture that's been built here is they won't quit. Now they might get their butt kicked, but they're gonna fight down to the end of the game. They just don't. There's a no give up mentality. I mentioned something off air to our guys upstairs. I said, "Guys, this could be the Alamo, and these kids would still fight. I mean, and they'd still think they had a chance, you know, until the last cowboy in the Alamo's dead. They're going to keep playing." So it was one of the guttier efforts I've seen out of an Oklahoma State team. I've seen a few. This one certainly goes down as one of the guttier efforts.
Robert, they are going to have to move. Some of these guys might be out a couple. You never know with injuries how these things linger and all that. Do you think this week was a testament to the fact that they can withstand that? Or does it make you nervous that they will have, there's a lot of guys that just aren't going to play and then people shoved into roles that they have to play 4 quarters?
It's kind of cyclical because there were 4 or 5 guys in street clothes on the sideline. Brock Martin, defensive end, they shut him down because of plantar fasciitis. And, after a week or so, there's probably a good chance he goes again. Braden Johnson at wide receiver, hamstring, they shut him down. So we see what he looks like this week. Probably the biggest one, and we won't know till later in the week, is Jason Taylor, who made the 2 interceptions and had the one. And I saw the video. I mean, I saw the video on the play. It looks terrible. It's one of those, oh my God, he tore his knee up. And, I do post game basically in the locker room, except after a game like that, they've got that music cranked up. So I've got to take them out in the locker room lobby. I came back in and I didn't think Jason Taylor wasn't going to go and talk to the media because injured players, they don't do that. And here he comes out of the training room with a trainer and he's walking and I'm like, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you want to talk?" He goes, "Oh, I do want to talk." And I said, "Okay." And then I looked at the trainer he goes, "I think we dodged a bullet." So I think there's a sprain or hyperextension or something at work there, but there are structurally the knee's okay, which is a big deal because even if he can't play this week, you get him back the next week for the rest of the season. He's kind of the mother hen back there with all those young kids in the defensive backfield. But you should get some guys back to set this game out. I think there's going to be some guys that'll continue. They'll continue playing. Joe Mahalski, the center, sprained his other ankle, but he stayed in the game. I thought he was out. They had the third center taking snaps again or snapping the ball, and Mahalski said, "No, I'm good. Let's go." And Preston Wilson, the original starting center, was suited up for an emergency. I saw him go over to Dickey, the offensive line coach, say, "Hey, I'm ready. Put me in." So, again, guys, I think you're going to get some bodies back. But there's no doubt there'll be some bodies from this game that won't make it to Manhattan. And I was listening to it on the way back from Stillwater to Edmond, where I live, and it sounds like K-State's kind of got a little bit of a mass unit going on up there too. So we'll see. I'm sure the guys in purple will have enough to play, and I'm sure the Cowboys will, and we'll see what happens. It's been crazy.
Well, that's great to hear about Taylor because that looked awful at the time. And you talk about going from a moment of elation to just the complete opposite feeling in like 10 seconds. That's what that was. So that's great to hear. Oklahoma is, the song says where the wind comes sweeping down the plains, Robert, but it seems like a lot of people learned the state of Oklahoma was windy on Saturday. How much was that like in play? And in particular, looking at Quinn Ewers and his performance, 19 of 49, multiple interceptions, had some touchdowns as well, but just being down there, kind of the atmosphere. What did you see from Texas quarterback and his struggles on Saturday?
We talked about this in our pregame. There are a couple of things. You guys have been to our yard.
Yep.
It's unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's first of all, it's east-west. It's not north-south. That changes some things a little bit. In fact, it was the coin toss and the start of the second half had a heck of a time. Which way should we go? Because it looked like it was a crosswind. And then here's the thing: inside the bowl, there's a lot of swirling areas. In fact, we had a kicker. Well, it was Dan Bailey that kicked so many years for the Cowboys. Dan came in here and as a project, I think for class, but it was going to help him too. He charted wind directions in the stadium because there's a bunch of swirling areas where you get different wind patterns because of just the layout of the stadium. And so, yeah, it's crazy. It's weird in there. When the wind is really blowing, it can be really weird. You think it's going one way and it's actually going, the other way. So I think that played with Quinn Ewers a little, sure. I think the pressure that OSU put on him, Trace Ford had one of his better games, and when he gets cranked up, he had a pass deflection. Lacey had a pass deflection. They were getting in his grill a little bit. And then let's remember with Quinn Ewers, he's just a pup. I mean, he didn't play his senior year at South Lake Carroll. He goes to Ohio State, and I think got 2 snaps in his year up there. And now he's even had some injury problems, at Texas. So he's really started that may have been his 4th start. It was his first true road start. He was at the Cotton Bowl for the OU game, but that's not a road game. That's a neutral site. So this was and the walls had to feel. I've had players from other teams tell me sometimes in that stadium you feel like Indiana Jones and the walls are coming in. And I imagine he probably had a little bit of that on Saturday. Now, the real question is, and I heard this, I've heard several people ask this, why did Sark get away from the running game?
Absolutely.
And there's no doubt OSU made, and Mike Gundy talked about it at his news conference today, they were getting gashed by the counter play in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
They came back and they changed some gap responsibility. They put an extra man down in the box. They played the counter much better in the second half. But even then, here's the other thing that they didn't really throw to Bijan Robinson, and they've been throwing to him a lot. I mean, half their receptions have been to running backs, him and Roschon and tight ends, and then half to the receivers. And they did hit the tight ends quite a bit, but they didn't throw much to the running back. And I kind of wondered about that too. But at the end of the day, OSU defended what Texas tried to do in the second half, limited Texas to a field goal, and then they missed one. Those are their only real scoring opportunities. I'm not sure they really got in the so-called red zone at all. OSU just did a good job of defending the second half and took advantage of some big plays because OSU didn't do a lot of scoring in the second half. It was 31-24 to half. So, OSU scored 17 points, I guess, in the second half. Texas scored 3.
Yeah. Bijan had 1 catch, 41 yards, and a touchdown. He's as dangerous in the flat as he is carrying the football, whether it's around the edges or not.
Yeah, and Smokey, that was in the first half. So why don't you throw him a few passes in the second half? I mean, now again, that's Texas' problem. That's not Oklahoma State's. And I mean, and rightfully so. I've listened today around to some of the radio and even had my own show, and about half the credit for the win is going to Oklahoma State. Half the blame for the win is going to Texas. And let's be honest, in any game, unless it's just a whitewash and it's not competitive, but in any competitive football game, there's blame to go one way and there's credit to go the other. I mean, that's always going to happen. So, but with all the adversity, all the injuries, Spencer Sanders is still playing. Now, he wasn't as curtailed this last week as he was the week going into the TCU game, but Spencer Sanders is not 100% healthy. And let me tell you something, that dude, his teammates would follow him they'd go to hell and back with him and not complain because he's come so much farther as a leader even than he has a player. Because there was a while here that I was kind of, but no, man, he's their guy. And I didn't realize until I heard Sark say it, but when the field was stormed at TCU, I was just trying to get my big butt off the field. I didn't want to get caught up. And to be honest, I told my wife when I got home, I swear I think I knocked over 2 or 3 co-eds, and I really didn't mean to, but I wanted to get the heck out of there. And Sark says he's watching on TV, and the offensive line circled Spencer and ushered him through the field storming. He goes, Sark said, I've never really seen anything like that. that tells me a whole lot about him and how his guys feel about him. And I would agree with it.
Robert, thank you. Incredible finish for Oklahoma State. Tough loss for Texas. They've now dropped twice in the Big 12, 3 overall. Thanks
Now,
for your
you
time.
guys, come on now. You guys aren't crying for Texas now, are you?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
Okay.
Robert, you obviously don't watch our show.
Yeah.
No, I do. I just said that. That was a facetiously. And here's the other thing. This is interesting. I mean, and maybe you guys will be counted as a rival, but when the commish last week said that Oklahoma and Texas are going to stay through 24, he said the schedules will be made and they'll cater to rivalries. So Oklahoma State's already been told they're going to play Oklahoma the last 2 years. So this year with Norman, next year Stillwater, and then the last year Oklahoma State will go back to Norman for the final time. But there's no guarantee Oklahoma State plays Texas again, and certainly may not ever play them in Stillwater. But I wondered, with you guys, I would think you guys would want every shot you can get at Texas before they walk out.
I got a feeling. Yeah, I got a feeling that game will remain the same. TCU will remain.
Yeah.
They'll play them, and I hope that the Oklahoma State series is not interrupted because I really love the games.
I can see why Texas would not want the Oklahoma State series to continue, but I think the Texas schools will have to keep playing each other.
Houston's going to get Texas, you would think.
Yeah.
They better get them, and they better get them at home before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Robert, nice win, gutty win.
All right.
Thank you, buddy. Separation kind of at the top because TCU's 4-0, Oklahoma State, Kansas State 3-1, and then, as he said, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Who's going to be right behind TCU? And, of course, TCU right now unbeaten. Steve, Frog fan on the